Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of the Perception Diet, and today I have a video for you that may make me unpopular in all the spiritual teaching places that are happening in the New Age world right now. However, what I want to do is bring these two worlds together. So what are the two worlds that I'm talking about? Right now, right, in the kind of spiritual world, we have two camps that are essentially operating especially in the New Age movement, okay? And the first camp is the love and light people, right? And you know these people. The law of attraction, they don't want to look at anything negative, they don't want to say anything negative, they don't want to go into negative emotions, they don't want to go into their past, they don't want to address anything like that, they just really want to be love and light all the time, right? They just want to turn everything that they've gone through into something positive right away. They don't want to get mad about anything. They don't want to admit what they feel, essentially, and they just want to be at this love and light and forgiveness and God actualization place all the time, okay? So that's the first camp. And then the second camp is the shadow workers, right? The people that are like, no, embrace what you feel, embrace what you think, embrace what you've gone through. Let's go do soul rescuing. Let's acknowledge all of these things that are going on under the surface. Let's look at this stuff. Let's dissect it. Let's allow it to tell us things, right? Like, let's allow everything that you're really feeling and that you're really going through to come to the surface because it's got a purpose and it's there for a reason. And, you know, holding on to these shadows and pretending that you're at a place that you're not is actually causing you more pain and suffering than looking at it is going to cause you, right? And of course, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably look at me and say, well, Allie, you're definitely the shadow worker side, right? You're all about embrace negative emotions. You're all about going to all that stuff. You have publicly spoken out against, you know, positive thinking all the time and how that's bullshit and The Secret is totally wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I would say, yeah, you're right. That's totally true. Now, what I want to say in today's video is that from my vantage point, I believe that what is actually going to be most helpful for our growth as human beings on this planet is taking both of these camps and uniting them into one super teaching and super understanding that will actually lead us to where I think we all want to go, okay? So if we look at the love and light people, the reason they're doing what they're doing, and you know, I know that a lot of us look at that and think that's spiritual bypassing, right? You're just ignoring what you're feeling, you're ignoring what you're doing, you're ignoring how you actually feel and think about all of these things because you just want to be at that end goal state of being in the love and light place all the time. And I think that, you know, the term spiritual bypassing actually works really well in this situation because bypass means to try and like skip over something, right? So what the shadow workers understand, right, is that there is no way of avoiding your negative emotions. There's no way of avoiding these negative experiences of life because what those negative experiences, those painful emotions, that suffering, that thing, you know, that anxiety, that depression, that physical stuff that we're going through that we keep running from and trying to get rid of, right? What they're saying is like, no, that's a part of yourself, right? That's a wounded aspect of yourself that experienced a reality that it has not been able to reconcile as something that was there to help you grow, right? So if I just back up a little, we've talked about the shadow a lot on this channel, and I'm just going to kind of give you a really quick and dirty definition of what the shadow is, right? All the shadow is, right, is a part of you that experienced a reality, experienced a situation, experienced a circumstance in which you felt pain, you felt suffering, you felt like something that should have happened didn't, or something that should not have happened did, right? And in that moment you rejected reality. You said this was wrong, that shouldn't have happened that way. And inadvertently what you don't realize that you did there is that when you rejected that aspect of yourself when you rejected that reality, right, that thing that occurred and said that shouldn't be happening, when you rejected that, you rejected the part of yourself that experienced that reality, okay? And that part of yourself, that aspect of you, the you that you were when that happened, needed that experience because that experience was actually a catalyst for growth. Okay? So, and I get this, right? We are a society and a human society that hates pain. We hate the idea that anything that's painful could possibly be good, because we feel like if we accept that, then we're inviting more pain into our lives, right? That's the big fear. That if we accept that pain is useful, and we accept that pain has a purpose, and we accept that pain is good, then we're saying, universe, just throw a whole bunch of shitty pain at me and I'll learn from it. But what we don't understand is that that's not really how it works, okay? So this is why I'm saying, like, the law of attraction is totally wrong. It's like, you're gonna go through what you're gonna go through in order to evolve. Some of those experiences are gonna be amazing and feel really good and be really joyful, and some of those experiences are gonna be painful, right? It doesn't matter how enlightened you get, your friends are still gonna die, and that's gonna be a painful experience for you. However, when you're at a more developed state in your consciousness, you don't judge that as wrong, and therefore it actually will stimulate growth in you. And we've talked about this, right, in the why judgment is the worst problem solver. We talked about it in the pain isn't going anywhere, right, videos, and I'll link those two down below. And if I didn't, please just let me know that I didn't, and I will do that, right? Is that it's these parts of ourselves that have rejected reality and therefore stunted our own growth, right? Every experience is simply there to inspire growth. Every experience that we have is there to expand our understanding of the reality and of ourselves, right? And so anything that we reject, yeah, becomes a part of ourselves that still wants to grow, that has to grow, because it's growing happens in a sequential order, right? We can't have a whole bunch of, like, we can't do grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5, and then go back and do grade 1 later, right? We have to do grade 1 first, then grade 2, because growth happens, evolution happens, building upon itself, right? So when we rejected that wounded aspect of ourselves, we actually force ourselves to re-experience it over and over and over again, internally and externally, because we're trying to stimulate that growth, right? So when we finally actually complete with something, which is where the love and light people are pretending that they are, when we actually complete with something, what that means is we have taken ourselves back into that rejected and wounded experience, and the part of ourselves that rejected and was rejected and wounded based on the rejection of that experience, right? We integrate that part of ourselves, so we feel the emotions, we go through being sad and angry and feeling victimized, and we allow all that, we process through that, and then we start to journey through seeing the experience for what it really was, which was a growth opportunity, right? We get to this place where we can see all of these painful things in our lives as no longer being these painful things that shouldn't have happened, but integral parts of our learning and growing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you some things from my history, right? I was bullied in school as a child, and for a really long time I made that mean that I was shitty, right? And that if I could just be different, right, I'll just beat myself up enough, I'll just get thin enough, I'll just do all these things, and then everyone will love me, and then that trauma will stop happening, right? And that shouldn't have happened, and people shouldn't have been mean to me, and it was all my fault, and blah, 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 right? And so as I started to do the soul healing work, right, the integration work, it was going into those wounded, rejected aspects of myself and just loving that one that was so sad and that was so hurt that she got rejected, and telling her she didn't have to change, right, that I was going to love her. And yeah, it's okay that you hate all those people, and it's okay that you think they were mean and shitty, right? You go through that phase, and you go through the phase of wishing it didn't happen, and you go through the phase of, right, you go through these phases, and then eventually you get to this place where you're like, well, actually, right, that being bullied and that being told that I shouldn't be how, now I just have the choice, right, to either say, okay, I'm going to keep denying who I am because it made people bully me, and deal with the suffering of that, because that's really why I'm suffering, is that I'm rejecting this part of myself and trying to be who everyone wants me to be, and that's really what's hurting, right? So my other option is to embrace myself, to realize there are going to be people who don't like it, but to own that, right? To be like, it's okay if you don't like it. You don't have to like me. It's totally fine with me if you don't like me, because I like me. And then you kind of like, right, and I think too, like in the healing process, we often go through this phase of like, right? When we feel so victimized and we've shut ourselves down, we're going to go through this phase where we flip to the other side. We're like, well, fuck you, I'm going to be myself, right? Like, and screw you, and I'm just going to be myself, and you can handle it, and you can take it, and if you don't like it, well, fuck you, right? Like that whole attitude. And I think we all go through that too. And then eventually you come to this place where you're like, it's not a fuck you, right? I'm not being who I am as a rebellion against the people who didn't like me, and I'm not shutting myself down so that people will like me. It's this third place of like, I'm just going to be myself. I'm not going to push myself on people. It's not about being aggressive about who I am. It's just saying, I'm just going to be myself, right? And if you don't like it, that's okay. I'm not going to push myself on you, right? It's this third way of being, which is really that love and light place, right? Where you're not in rejection of what happened. You're not upset with the people that bullied you anymore. You see it for what it was, an opportunity to step into who you are no matter what, to learn that love doesn't come from the outside, right? When we get rejected, that's what that is. That is the lesson, right? The true root of why we get rejected is always to teach us that love is available from within, that we don't need it from without, right? That it's lovely from without, and we are interconnected beings who are always going to feel great when we're connected and when we're having that experience of connection. However, it's not necessary to feel happy. It's not that I can't love myself until everyone else does. It's saying I love myself no matter what, and then when I'm around people who love me, it's amplified. But it's not that then if I'm around someone who doesn't like me, I have to shut myself down or I have to push myself on them, right? It's this third place of love and light, right? It's okay no matter what. If you reject me, I still like me. If you love me, I still like me. That whole thing, right? And you see, like I say, you see the circumstance of being bullied as that opportunity to grow out of that childlike consciousness that says love comes from the outside and I have to do whatever it takes to get it from the outside, to that adult-like consciousness which understands that I can be myself and love myself, and love is still available to me even when it's going away on the outside, right? And then we start to get into, and then I see their fear, and their fear actually had nothing to do with me, and it's like this much deeper lesson, right? So that's what true completion is. Completion is you can go back into the memory that used to be super painful and that you used to think should not have gone that way, and you can see, no, that's what that was actually trying to teach me. That's the growth it was trying to evolve in me, and I have taken that growth step. I have learned to love myself, right? No matter if people accept me or don't accept me, and I don't need to push myself on people, and it's not this big aggressive thing. It's not a fuck you, it's not a rebellion. It's just a, this is who I am, it's okay. Right? And it's okay for you to be how you are. And we don't have to agree, but we're still connected. You see what I'm saying? So it's this big, grander thing. So what I'm saying is this. Where the love and light people get it wrong, right, is they're trying to skip over the processing phase into the realization phase. But the thing is that love and light place is a place you arrive at through the process of accepting and embracing where you actually are on the path. Right? So if you're not at the place where you can fully say, I love those people because they stimulated growth in me, right? If you're like, well, I still fucking hate them, but I'm going to pretend like I don't because that's not spiritual, that's bypassing, right? And when we do that, we never will get to this end goal. It's literally like saying, okay, I'm at the bottom of the mountain, I want to be at the top, and I'm just going to keep trying to jump to the top. And I'm not going to take the steps in between. I'm just going to keep jumping to try and get to the top. You're never going to get there that way, right? Until you take the steps, you have to take the steps to get to the top of the mountain. And then the top of the mountain is a place you arrive at going through the shadow work, right? Now, so that's where I feel like that teaching kind of gets messed up. It's like, if I just think love and light, positive stuff all the time, nothing bad will ever happen to me again. But that's not the thinking that you want. You want to be in the place where whatever happens to you, you can find something positive in it. You can find the benefit. You can find the lesson. You can learn and grow and expand. Because that's what I'm saying. The myth is that we're going to get to this place where life stops happening to you. Well, that's not going to happen. Painful experiences are a part of this, and they're always going to happen to you. So it's learning how to be at a place where you can embrace those painful experiences and not turn them into suffering by rejecting them, and therefore rejecting the part of yourself that wanted to grow, and allowing that growth to take place through the emotional cycle, right? So that you can see it. So that's what that is. Where I feel like the shadow work people are taking a left-hand turn here is that they're so against the spiritual bypassers that they actually hold themselves back from reaching the top of the mountain place because they don't want to sound like the spiritual bypassers who are all love and light all the time. But what I'm saying is, when you actually do your shadow work, when you fully actually do your shadow work and do the completion of that shadow work, you will end up in the love and light place, which you're going to be like, oh my God, right? I'm the shadow worker who's been so against the spiritual bypassing, but that's where I'm ending up when I do my shadow work. And that's where I think the shadow work people can actually get themselves caught in their drama and get themselves caught in the shadow work and will actually stunt their own growth because they don't want to become the love and light person, right? And also we can kind of get addicted to that drama of constantly bringing up our negative emotions and constantly having this dramatic emotional mental experience of this traumatic world. And I think, and I talked about that in the drama video, right? That we are addicted to drama. And this emotional drama is actually something we get addicted to, right? That constantly staying in that turmoil over what happened to you and just wanting to process your anger and process that sadness but you keep going back and back and back, and you're not letting yourself go to the next place, right? Where you see the greater picture and see the bigger picture. And like I say, that will actually eventually end you up at the place where you're love and light about it. We're stunting our growth. So what I'm saying is this, right? The love and light people have the end goal, right? We are going to end up there. When we do our shadow work, when we truly do our shadow work, we end up at the love and light place. And it's not fake. We're not trying. It's because we actually see the benefit of what we went through. It's no longer this big suffering thing where it shouldn't have happened like that, and I've just made up this like how it should have gone differently, and I'm going to tell myself that it went like that, or right, how everything was wrong, but I'll still like myself, or da 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 da. That's a part of the journey, but that's not all the way, right? That love and light place is the end goal, where we see it for what it was. So this is what I'm saying, like, I no longer look back on the traumas of my life and see trauma. I no longer look back on the things in my life that I thought should not have gone that way and look at them like that, right? I see that I am genuinely grateful for every painful experience that I've ever been through, that I've done my processing work around. And I'm not saying I've done it on all of them. I definitely still have things inside of me that I'm sure I am not accepting, and that there's traumas, because I still have trigger. So I know that, right? I know that there are still parts of me that I've rejected. And aspects of my experience and my reality that I have rejected, because I still have some triggers, right? But this work that I've done, right, on the triggers that I've really tackled, has been like, let myself feel angry, let myself feel sad, let myself hate everyone, like go through all of that. But then it's starting to say, okay, well, what was the purpose? Why did I go through that, right? What was I trying to get myself to see? What was I trying to get myself to learn? Because like, I don't really believe that the world happens to us. I really believe that we call in these experiences. This is the law of attraction. We call in the experiences that are going to grow us, right? We are attracting to us everything that we need to become the person that we know ourselves to be. And some of those experiences are going to be painful because they contradict, right, the reality that we think exists with the reality that actually exists. And that's what's painful. So every time we reject reality, we cause ourselves to suffer because we reject ourselves and we reject the growth and the learning and the understanding, right? So this is what I'm saying, okay? Don't be a spiritual bypasser. Don't pretend you're at the end goal when you're not. If you really feel angry about everything that's happened to you, that's awesome. Be at that place, right? Love the one. Do that emotional mastery work, right? But the second thing is, if you've been doing your processing for a while, don't get stuck there, because that love and light place is the completion, where you understand why it happened that way. You have allowed for the growth, right? Because that's really what you're going to get to. You're going to get to the thing where you're like, okay, I've been mad at everyone and everything, and now all that's left is my choice. Who am I going to allow this to make me? Who am I going to become as someone who went through that? Because that was reality. I can't go back and change it, but I can change my perception of it, and I can change who I am because of it, right? And that's what we do. So you allow that growth, and then you do end up at the love and light place, but it's real because you understand it and you grew, and that feels good. All right? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave those down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And I will see you in the next video.